Mr. President, Mr. Provost, Madam Secretary, deans, college heads, college deans, colleagues, friends, families, and most of all, members of the class of 2018, welcome to this day. I now call on the university chaplain.
Good afternoon. Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Almighty and loving God, you are the one who gives us this day and all our days. In the majesty of this life moment, we, your beloved children, of different colors, creeds, generations, stories, and tongues, are gathered in this place as one human family, united in jubilant celebration. We are filled with gratitude for our families, friends, teachers, and guides. Their arms have sheltered us, their shoulders have boosted us, and today their hearts soar for us. Eternal God, it is you who calls us to our full humanity. As we celebrate our accomplishments, we are humbled and overwhelmed by what lies ahead. Steady us so that we may continue to caress the beauty of your creation. Let our souls know true delight as we awaken to the wonder and mystery of our own unfolding lives. Through unity of mind and spirit, hold us ever close as we seek to leaven your world wisely in steadfast pursuit of your light and your truth. Amen.
Om, that which pervades earth, sky, and heaven, which is worthy of worship, that has no beginning, that which is the light of wisdom and truth. Let us meditate on the radiance of this divinity. May that brilliance help inspire and illuminate our minds. That one which represents water, light, and is the quintessence of all things. May that almighty spirit pervading the earth, atmosphere, and heaven bless us with enlightenment.
Send forth your light and your truth. They will lead me. They will bring me to your holy mountain, to your dwelling place, that I may come to the altar of God. God, my delight, my joy, that I may praise you with the harp. O God, my God.
You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your God in heaven.
God is the light of the heavens and earth. The likeness of his light is that of a niche in which there is a lamp. The lamp is in a glass. The glass is, as it were, a brilliant star lit from a blessed tree, an olive tree, neither of the east nor of the west, whose oil seems to glow even though no fire has touched it. Light upon light, God guides whom he wills to his light. God makes parables for humanity, and God has knowledge of everything.
On this occasion, it is customary for the president to deliver a baccalaureate address and for the dean of Yale College to offer readings. This is a historic year for Yale. It's the first time in its history that the graduating class, by which I mean you, includes members of 14 residential colleges, 2 of them new and 1 newly rededicated. The namesakes of those 3 new colleges, almost as though they had anticipated this moment, had words for you all. Benjamin Franklin, we all know as a polymath whose accomplishments spanned the arts, the sciences, government, and public service. Among his prolific writings, he introduced what may be one of the first self-help books in American history, an autobiography listing the virtues that he wanted to perfect in himself for a better life. Here are my favorites, which I offer to the 10 of you who did not take Professor Laurie Santos's class, Psychology and the Good Life. Temperance. Eat not to dullness, drink not to elevation. It's a little too late for that. Order. Let all your things have their places. Let each part of your business have its time. Resolution. Resolve to perform what you ought. Perform without fail what you resolve. Frugality. Make no expense, but to do good to others or yourself. Waste nothing. Industry. Lose no time. Be always employed in something useful. Cut off all unnecessary actions. Sincerity. Use no hurtful deceit. Think innocently and justly, and if you speak, speak accordingly. Moderation. Avoid extremes. Forbear resenting injuries so much as you think they deserve. Justice. Wrong none by doing injuries or by omitting the benefits that are your duty. Pauli Murray distinguished herself as a leader for civil rights and the advancement of women. President Salovey will say more about her, but here I will share a quote reported by Yale history professor Glenda Gilmore, who documented Pauli Murray's purposeful struggles. Murray was rejected from the University of North Carolina because of her race. She was denied admission to Harvard Law School because of her sex, and she was arrested in Virginia because she refused to move to the back of a Greyhound bus. Well, after becoming the first African American to receive a degree from Yale Law School, in an interview for the Southern Oral History program in 1976, Pauli Murray offered these words about her activism. I would like to say here, if you will notice that the questions you've been asking me about my activities and the things that I was involved in, that in not a single one of these little campaigns was I victorious. In other words, in each case, I personally failed. But I have lived to see the thesis upon which I was operating vindicated. And what I very often say is that I've lived to see my lost causes found. Finally, Grace Hopper was a trailblazing computer scientist and mathematician, applying her analytic skills to serve the country during World War II, after which she retired as a Rear Admiral of the US Navy. Hopper was less interested in safe careers as she was in adventurous projects, and in time, she developed some of the earliest computers and pioneered computer languages and compilers to run them. Here she is in her own words. Humans are allergic to change. They love to say, we've always done it this way. I try to fight that. That's why I have a clock on my wall that runs counterclockwise. And second quote, a ship in port is safe, but that is not what ships are for. Sail out to sea and do new things. Class of 2018, congratulations.
Graduates of the class of 2018, family members, and friends, it's a pleasure to be here with you today, a day filled with joy for the present and hope for the future. There is a wonderful Yale tradition that I would like to honor right now. May I ask all of the families and friends here today to rise and recognize the outstanding and graduating members of the class of 2018. Well, that was enthusiastic. May I now ask the class of 2018 to consider for a moment all those who have supported your arrival at this milestone, and please rise and recognize them. Thank you. These are the months and years when people tend to make a lot of plans. Some are practical. You schedule flights and rent apartments. And consider where you will live, work, or study after graduation. Others are more aspirational. You imagine your future life and what you wish to accomplish in the years ahead. I want to begin by sharing a passage Polly Murray wrote in 1945 about her aspirations. At the time, she was a young lawyer and civil rights activist. Here's the quotation. "I intend to destroy segregation by positive and embracing methods," Murray wrote. "When my brothers tried to draw a circle to exclude me, I shall draw a larger circle to include them. Where they speak out for the privileges of a puny group, I shall shout for the rights of all mankind." So, I ask you, how large will you draw your circle? Will you draw a circle that is large, inclusive, and vibrant? Or will it be small, puny, and privileged? The work of inclusion is difficult, but the rewards are great. Let me suggest ways you might follow the example of Polly Murray and many other Yale graduates when you leave campus. First, make sure your circles are truly large. In today's world, where you can have 700 followers on Twitter and 1,000 friends on Facebook, it may seem easy to have a large circle. But if you're bombarded with the same stories, the same memes, and the same opinions from all your so-called friends, then your world may in fact be quite narrow. A conversation with 6 friends in real life actually may lead to a greater variety of ideas and perspectives. In my years at Yale, I've been privileged to know some of the most brilliant minds in the world. I've learned that the greatest scholars draw the largest circles. They read widely and are interested in ideas well beyond the scope of their own research and their own beliefs. Robert Dahl, who was a sterling professor of political science, taught at Yale for 40 years. One of the most respected political scientists of his generation, Professor Dahl was an authority on democracy and on democratic institutions. And he was a beloved teacher and mentor. After his death in 2014 at the age of 98, tributes from his former students poured in. One of his graduate students, Jeffrey Isaac, recalled how he vehemently disagreed with some of Dahl's arguments, even though he loved taking his class. For his dissertation, Isaac proposed writing a critique of Dahl's theories. Much to his surprise, the most enthusiastic and supportive member of the faculty in the Department of Political Science was Dahl himself. He agreed to supervise the dissertation. Isaac wrote, "Bob Dahl spent countless hours in his office talking with me about my principal theoretical antagonist, him. We would discuss this guy, Dahl, in the third person. We'd consider the limits of his arguments. We'd speculate about how he might respond to my arguments." Professor Dahl embraced his critics, listened to them, and conversed with them. A model of open and engaged scholarship and teaching, the best we can aspire to at Yale. The lesson extends beyond our campus. Our greatest challenges as a society, climate change, poverty, insecurity, violence, demand innovative and creative solutions. Yet, political polarization is making it more difficult than ever to solve these problems. We must be able to talk with our opponents, even though we disagree with them. We might start by emulating Professor Dahl and so many other wise and generous thinkers who have drawn large circles and so added to the sum of human understanding. My second piece of advice, and here I'm taking some liberties with the metaphor, is to draw as many circles as you can. One circle will be your work. Make sure you enjoy it, but make sure you have other circles as well. We know one of the keys to happiness is developing a passion, even an expertise outside of work. Sharing that passion with others gives us great joy, and it connects us to circles of friends and associates who might be very different from the ones we would meet otherwise. As many of you are aware, I am quite passionate about music from the Appalachian Mountain region. My love of traditional country and bluegrass music has allowed me to visit places such as Southwest Virginia and Eastern Kentucky. It has allowed me to chair the board of the International Bluegrass Music Museum and to play bass for 30 years now with the Professors of Bluegrass. It enables me to share stories and songs with perfect strangers at summertime bluegrass music festivals. Most significantly, though, it has led to circles of friendships beyond the towns in which I grew up, beyond the universities I attended, and beyond my profession of psychology. I'm, of course, proud to be a psychologist, and my discipline, in fact, does provide empirical evidence to support my personal experience. Patricia Linville is a social psychologist who studies how people think of themselves and how these self-perceptions influence well-being. She is now at Duke, but she was my teacher here at Yale when she completed several studies of what she terms self-complexity. Greater self-complexity, according to Linville, means a person has many aspects of themselves. In other words, they draw many circles. For example, a woman who thinks of herself as a student, a marathon runner, a theater goer, a reader of the New Yorker magazine, and, let's say, a bass player in a bluegrass band, would demonstrate greater self-complexity than someone who thinks of himself only as a lawyer. Professor Linville, in her research, found that greater self-complexity acts as a buffer against negative experiences. For example, if you define yourself almost entirely in terms of your job, getting passed over for a promotion might be devastating for your sense of self-worth. Linville calls this putting all your eggs in one cognitive basket. People such as our marathon running bass player, on the other hand, bounce back more quickly after a setback. Linville even found that college students with greater self-complexity were less likely to get sick or experience depression or stress. Third and finally, let me suggest one important way we can expand our circles: by reaching out and engaging with others. Here I would like to turn again to Pauli Murray and one of her more surprising relationships. Murray's papers contain thousands of letters, a reflection of a full life, animated by many interests, commitments, and many relationships. A life of many circles. During her time at Yale Law School, Murray received a letter from William S. Beinecke, a member of the Yale College class of 1936. Now, that name will sound familiar to everyone here. The Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library is named for William's father and two uncles. And many other programs and places at Yale have benefited from the family's remarkable philanthropy. Bill Beinecke passed away just last month. He was nearly 104 years old. In fact, Tuesday is his birthday. In 1963, when he wrote Murray, he was chairman of the Sperry and Hutchinson Company, a venerable American company founded by his grandfather. Your parents and grandparents may remember S&H green stamps, Sperry and Hutchinson. Beinecke was a leader in corporate America and a wealthy and powerful man. He had met Murray at an event at Yale, and not long after that, he wrote her a letter. He enclosed a clipping from Time magazine about race relations in the United States, and he asked Murray what she thought. Murray responded, A few weeks later, he sent her another article and asked her opinion again, this time about school integration. She wrote back. At one point, Murray wrote Beinecke a 4-page, single-spaced, typed letter on what she called the imponderables on the issue of race. Their correspondence continued for weeks with interesting and frank letters on both sides. Beinecke and Murray, both exemplars of the Yale tradition, were able to sustain a conversation despite differences in gender, differences in family background, differences in race, differences in class, and much more. We don't know whether or not they entirely agreed with one another, but we can imagine they learned a lot from the exchange, all because two individuals decided to reach beyond their normal circles. Beinecke's decision to write Murray did not take place in a vacuum. In the 1950s, he attended a discussion at Yale Law School on the topic of American race relations. Not long after, he decided to look into Sperry and Hutchinson's hiring practices. He learned that the employment agency vetting applications for his company was screening out African Americans, removing them from the pool before their applications ever reached Sperry and Hutchinson. Beinecke ended the practice. He also supported scholarships for underprivileged high school students and established a fellowship for students of color at Yale Law School. It was in the course of this work that he met Murray and initiated their correspondence, hoping to bridge the gulf that separated his experience from hers. Bill Beinecke's life was made up of different circles. He led efforts to improve New York's Central Park. He supported environmental causes. He was dedicated to the game of golf. And he remained an ardent champion of Yale and its students, among other interests. And what about Polly Murray, who as a young person promised to draw a larger circle in her life? 1 month after writing her last letter to Bill Beinecke, she participated in the historic March on Washington, which she helped organize. While finishing her Doctor of Jurisprudence degree here at Yale, she drafted an influential legal memo, helping to ensure that sex was included in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Murray's other circles included writing poetry and teaching. At the age of 67, she became the first African-American woman ordained as an Episcopal priest, continuing her lifelong commitment to reconciliation and understanding. Enlarging our circles is far from easy. It requires courage, but also imagination and curiosity about our fellow human beings. It rejects fear and suspicion. It demands that we listen to each other. It measures the limits of our humanity. Both Polly Murray and Bill Beinecke drew such large circles and so many circles that their lives intersected. I urge you to do the same. Draw many circles. Make them large in all kinds of ways. You will find life richer, fuller, and more meaningful. And you will bring to the world the empathy and understanding we so desperately need. Members of the class of 2018, it is time to leave the garden and go into the woods. Please rise. As you go onto a world that is all before you, hand in hand, with wandering steps and slow, bring to that world all that your Yale education has given you. The ability to engage critically, even while listening respectfully. To respond creatively to challenges and obstacles. To embrace your responsibilities while finding happiness. And to draw ever wider circle, the circle of belonging, the circles of understanding in this world. We're delighted, we are delighted to salute your accomplishments, and we are proud of your achievements. Remember, though, to give thanks for all that has brought you to this day. And go forth from this place with grateful hearts, paying back the gifts you have received here by using your minds, your voices, and your hands to strengthen your new communities and the world. Congratulations, class of 2018.
bless you and keep you. May the Eternal show you favor and be gracious to you. May the Holy One cause light to shine upon you and to grant you peace. And let us say, Amen.